Before we get started today, guys, I just want to give a quick shout out to our devoted Patreon supporters. If you want to help support our channel, be sure to check out our Patreon. The link is down in the description. And don't forget, if you join at the $15 tier, you will receive a monthly critique of any of your original work by one of the subjectivists. Thank you again, guys. What's up, everyone? We're back with the first Subjectively Speaking in like a month and a half? It's been a while. I had a ton of fun with October last month, and as much as I enjoyed creating my own characters and story, I feel like it's time I got back to talking about other people's designs. Lately, I've been playing a lot of League of Legends. Probably too much. I don't really like to think about how many hours I've accumulated over the past few months. It's hard to say what has gotten me so hooked on this game. The players are mean, the community is toxic, the balancing is ridiculous, half of the game doesn't even make sense, and on top of everything else, the character design is atrocious.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Well, okay, that's not entirely fair. True, when League of Legends started off 10 years ago, the artwork that defined the game could really only be described as half-assed, last-minute, low-effort art school senior thesis work, but...
And this is a big but.
Riot has really started to give a damn about the way their game looks. The new characters they've introduced into the game over the last few years not only look good on their own, but play into their gameplay mechanics and lore in ways that are really creative and honestly pretty unique. I know for a lot of people, character design is not what attracts them to a game like this, but there's a reason why Riot has spent the time and the money to improve the art that they associate with their brand. And for all the unpleasant tropes that can be associated with League of Legends, there are a lot of things that are actually quite inspiring about this game. So today, let's say it's in honor of the 10-year anniversary, I'm going to talk about the 10 designs that Riot and their artists have really nailed in League of Legends. Remember, the name of this channel is Subjectively. All of the choices on this list are based off of my opinions, so if you at any point disagree with me or think I left a design out, please be sure to let me know down in the comments. So let's get to it, guys. My top 10 favorite character designs in League of Legends. We're starting off this list pretty unbiased. I don't actually play Kayle, though I do own this champion, and the skin is the reason why. I'll be honest, 9 times out of 10 the only reason I ever play a character in this game is because there's something about their design or the design of one of their skins that really gets me excited, and while Kayle's default look is a solid 6 out of 10 for me, her Iron Inquisitor design is one of my favorite character designs in any video game. I'm a pretty big sucker for that Roman Catholic Gothic imagery, but it has to be done well. To distance your design enough from the actual religion and create something new yet exciting is something that's not easy to do. But there's just so much potential when you use this medieval religious aesthetic as inspiration for your character design. The bold, imposing architecture, the looming faces carved from stone, and that sense of some judgmental, omnipotent presence hovering right over your shoulder, quietly deciding the fate of its followers. Bayonetta really captures this aesthetic quite beautifully in its angel designs, and while Riot's art team didn't go as crazy with their concept for Iron Inquisitor Kayle, that feeling of some almighty idol of power and judgment is conveyed with such deliberance in this design. Everything from the colors to the weapons, even the way the artist decided to narrate the lore behind the design in the splash art, with Kayle singed and Nocturne emerging from what looks like some 16th century religious illustration. There's just a lot of concept behind this piece, and they executed it so well that it makes me want to play another game based around just this world and story. Okay, it's time to get biased. Renekton was the first character I ever played in League, and this skin was the reason why. When my friend suggested we played League of Legends some 5 years ago, the first thing I asked was, can I play as a crocodile? And honestly, I was just joking. Renekton's default design was not super exciting to me, even after his update. But then I saw this gleaming hulk of a lifeguard and I thought, yes, this is a good reason to play this stupid game. 5 years and several hundred hours of gameplay later, and I'm finally starting to get good at this character. But my love for Baywatch Croc has not waned. Honestly, the reason Pool Party Renekton stood out to me when I first looked at this game had less to do with the fact that he was a crocodile wearing sunglasses, and more about the feeling it conveyed to me about the attitude the developers had about their game. Up until I saw this, I was under the impression that League of Legends took itself way too seriously, with designs like this, or this, and oh god, I can't believe this is still in the game. It made me feel like I was playing a game designed by insecure D&D nerds in the 1980s who thought that Conan the Barbarian was the pinnacle of creative storytelling. But looking at this fun, if not a little underdesigned and jokey skin made me feel like the devs, or at least the artists working on the game, had some semblance of self-awareness, and that I could expect the same from other people playing the game. Overall, this skin takes a concept based in unoriginal and unexciting tropes and turns it on its head, poking fun at its own ridiculousness. Yes, a ripped crocodile man is cool, but put him in sunglasses and have him sit on a lifeguard stand mid-battle? Now that's character design. When I first heard Pop Stars by KDA, I had no idea that it had anything to do with League of Legends. Spotify just recommended to me some random K-pop group, and honestly, I just really enjoyed it. Then I discovered the music video, and it still took me a second to realize what was happening. Okay, someone actually had to explain to me the name of this group. The point is, I love this music video, and I love what it says about video games as a whole. This was the first time I realized that a game could actually produce content that was 100% art. Cool characters, fun story, good music, and a little viral phenomenon that got people excited even if they didn't care about the game. Not many other game series can say that they've done the same, and it feels nice as someone who loves games first and foremost for their artwork to see such a big company put so much time into a side project that, in essence, really has nothing to do with their game. And all that aside, the 4 members of the KDA crew have amazing designs. Even if I knew nothing about the whole music video, I'd still love these skins, and I don't play Akali, Evelynn, Ahri, or Kai'Sa. In a game where the art direction is so vague that characters range from fantasy to sci-fi to children's book, it's cool to see a developer explore every possible avenue of interesting design, extending all the way to chic and modern streetwear. Sure, it doesn't make a ton of sense, a ninja wearing high tops and a $3,000 jacket charging into battle with a fully armored ghost knight, but that's the beauty of a game like League of Legends. Keep your art direction vague enough, and you can literally make your characters look like anything. For me, KDA Akali has been a huge inspiration for my own artwork, and has allowed me to think beyond a lot of conventions of fictional character design. This blend of modern fashion with fantasy combat gives a really fun and unique twist to a genre that can easily feel overused or worn out. And come on, who doesn't want to rap in Korean while glowing neon on a moving train? If you're not already familiar with me and my personal tastes, let me give you a quick rundown of things that I think are cool. Dragons, gilded golden armor, and oversized weapons. It seems like those things would be easy enough to coalesce into a cool character design, but you'd be surprised how often these prompts fall flat. Warring Kingdoms Vi checks off every box on that list, and it's not just some lazy, half-assed tracing of an illustrated edition of Lord of the Rings. This is an example of what you can make when you spend the time researching and referencing actual historic artwork and translating it into modern, interesting design. There's so much to be learned from the artists of centuries past. You hear that, art students? Art history is not a waste of time. Alright, well, some of it is. That's not the point. Look at what you can create when you reference something like, say, a Ming-era Guardian line sculpture, and blend it with the style and interests of modern video game conventions. The key to utilizing reference properly is not to copy what you see in front of you, but to let it inspire you in an informed way so that you're able to introduce a new and well-rounded concept into an area of overused ideas. And while you're at it, you can include an underrepresented culture in a way that pays respect to the beauty of their artistic history. So, to summarize, gold plus dragon plus big weapon, not innately cool. But throw in some research and a lot of time in concept development, and you'll have a design that can win me over any day of the week. Speaking of glittering gold, how much more indulgent can you be than a giant fish dragon demon devouring an entire festival's worth of food? Tahm Kench is one of those new characters that actually had a lot of time and effort put into his design, and honestly, his default is pretty solid on its own. It's clever, whimsical, and it does a great job informing a player about his role and abilities in the game. That being said, I did just list some of the things that you could include in a character's design to make me like it even more, and Tahm Kench's Coin Emperor skin adds those last few subjective design elements that really get me excited. Mostly, I enjoy the recall animation that they added with this skin. I love when an art team goes the extra mile to include another layer of personality to a character with new animations to replace attacks, abilities, or taunts. Tahm's model has so much potential for exaggerated poses and animations, it was only fitting that they included this, his most gluttonous of moments, to my favorite of his skins. You know how when you watch a movie that you really enjoy and then after it's over you're just so pumped that you want to keep the world alive by writing a fanfiction or designing your own OC? Well, some of the artists over at Riot must have felt that way after watching Guardians of the Galaxy, because the Odyssey set of skins look like they could have been taken right out of a deleted scene. But there's nothing wrong with this at all. In fact, I'm sure a ton of fans appreciated the inclusion of that quirky sci-fi aesthetic that the Guardian films introduced, myself included. Though I didn't participate in the whole Odyssey PvE event that accompanied the release of these skins, I gotta say, I'm a pretty huge fan of the general look and feel of this little mini-world that they created inside of League of Legends. And of the 7 characters included in the Odyssey universe, Jinx is by far my favorite. Jinx has kind of established herself as one of the mascots of League of Legends, appearing on much of their merch, predominantly in their spin-off games, and in most of the game's associated artwork. Other than the fact that Jinx is one of the few female characters in League of Legends that introduces some variety to the body types represented in the game, her silhouette and characterization opens up a lot of doors for design potential. Setting her as the protagonist of a story in a genre that's mostly dominated by ripped dudes shows some self-awareness and respect from the artists at Riot, and it just looks good. I mean, this splash art is honestly just standalone such an amazing illustration, capturing the world, story, stakes, and personalities of all the characters in one still image. The new particle effects and animations they added in-game are also a ton of fun too. Overall, it's just a well thought out design that really feels like the artist had fun making it. I would love to add this skin to my collection. Unfortunately, I am terrible at ADC and it just doesn't seem worth it. The first design on this list that isn't a skin. If you ask me, Default Alawi is the most well-designed of any of her iterations, and though I hope one day for a skin that exceeds those standards, for now, I really can't complain. Anyone who watched my Apoctober videos know that I'm a big fan of the whole Lovecraft occult aesthetic. The nautical themes, the awesome octopus monsters, and the human characters involved in all of that madness. But as played out as some of those visual tropes can be, Alawi does a fantastic job breaking a lot of the design conventions associated with those and other fantasy worlds. For one, she, like Jinx, broadens the range of female representation in a game that, for the most part, limits its design to conventionally attractive women that all have very similar body shapes. Having a woman with all of the same physical traits as a strong man is not only empowering, but it's new and it's refreshing, and it can elevate a design beyond what most people would expect when they think of ancient god cultist. Another way Alawi sheds new light on the Lovecraft genre is by incorporating inspiration from cultures outside of Western folklore. Exploring inspiration from Polynesian and Mesoamerican mythology yielded a very impressive blend of designs that fed into the concept of the Kraken Priestess in an entirely new way. And as one of these lucky new characters, the care and effort that went into Alawi's design does not end at her splash art. Her animations, voice acting, and abilities all work in harmony with one another to solidify this overall ingenious character design. Of all the characters you wouldn't want to mess with in League of Legends, Riot's art team has convinced me that Alawi is high on that list. And she's high on this list too. A winner by all standards. Did someone say gold armor, dragons, and oversized weapons? Maybe even the inclusion of some anime-inspired overindulgence and a splash of hot pink? Yeah, Super Galaxy Shyvana is kind of an S+ over here. And I'm not even going to pretend that there isn't a huge element of bias involved in this evaluation. I mean, I haven't been this whole time, but this one might be more based off of my subjective opinion than my actual knowledge of character design. Alright, to be honest, Shyvana is not what I consider to be a well-designed character. Her concept's unoriginal, her silhouette is lazy, her colors are confusing, and the added adornments and accessories of her armor are really just half-assed. Not to mention her dragon form. In almost every skin she has, her dragon form is just as stiff and unexciting as her human one. I mean, how can you make playing as a dragon feel so uncool? Super Galaxy Shyvana is this character's salvation, however, and as one of my most played characters, I must say that this skin is the reason that I can main her. Sure, she's fun to play, and I'm not just going to ignore one of the only 2 playable dragons in the game, but if I had to look at this running around for 40 minutes, I just wouldn't be able to enjoy myself. Now, Shyvana is an old character. She was first released back in 2011, and even though they did update her splash art and her design a little bit, her animations are still stiff and lifeless, and watching her move around the rift in any skin is like watching a kid pose an action figure. So even if Shyvana got another really cool skin with nice splash art, it wouldn't change how antiquated her in-game model looks. Fortunately, Shyvana is on deck for a total character design overhaul after Fiddlesticks and Volibear get theirs. I cannot wait to see how they reimagine this character, and based off of the redesigns they've done over the past few years, chances are it's gonna look great. Amazingly, the number 2 spot on my list goes to a character whose default skin I actually kind of hate. This is definitely very subjective. I mean, from a critical perspective, Urgot's updated look works very well for his lore and playstyle, and his animations and splash art clearly had a lot of thought and love put into them. But I'm just not here for the whole shirtless, pale, bald, saggy, ripped man aesthetic. It's just not my thing. Fortunately, Urgot has a wonderfully different skin that is so up my alley that it tempted me into trying him, and now, he's my best character. But enough about how fun it is to play Urgot. We're here to talk designs. Remember how we were talking about Riot and their art team, and how they've been striving to update the looks of their older characters so that they can show some semblance of pride in the art direction of their game? Well, no character better exemplifies that change from lazy, putrid, first attempt Uggo design to film industry standard concept art mastery more than giant enemy Crabgot. Now, I know that the whole premise for this skin is based off of a meme, but why does that mean it needed to look like some abhorrent 70s era stop motion movie monster? If I got handed the prompt giant enemy crab and then was told to paint over a hulking man with robot spider legs and a gun arm, you'd better believe I'd come up with something better than this. And fortunately, after Urgot's complete overhaul, the artist assigned to reimagining this skin actually had some fun turning a meme prompt into a solid, interesting, and exciting design. Yes, Urgot as a character is pale and gross and green, but each new skin in League of Legends establishes new lore for the character, so why not completely change his look? He could even lose all semblance of physical humanity, give him an exoskeleton, give him a claw gun, give him a giant abyssal maw in his stomach. And those colors, oh man. You could see the skin coming from a mile away, and even though in-game they couldn't make him as big as the splash art implies, these colors make such a strong impression that it's almost as if you're being approached by a kaiju. And not to point out the obvious, but it's pretty blatantly inspired by Pacific Rim. And just, like, how could anyone look at a giant crab kaiju and say, no thanks, I'd rather play as this boring human with an axe and a cape? I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'd go for the crab kaiju every time. And now, here we are at the number 1 spot on this list, but before I give you mine, what is your favorite character design in League of Legends? My number 1 choice for the most well-designed character in League of Legends is...
Hello again. Let's have some fun.
Yep, the gold-gilded cosmic weaver of the universe, Aurelion Sol, is by far my favorite character in this game. As one of the impressive new additions to the League of Legends roster, Aurelion Sol got the star treatment when they were designing him, with an extensive stage of concept development and plenty of time put into his final rendition. This gleaming galaxy god isn't just an example of everything that I like to see in a character, he's the result of an art team that was ready to take risks with their design instead of sticking to the same concept with really only slightly different execution. There aren't a lot of games out there who can say, I want a space dragon as a playable character in my game, and not only do it, but do it well. And with how the devs at Riot established their very loosely structured world, the responsibility of turning that concept into a reality laid entirely on the artists behind the designs. How could they capture the omnipotent presence of the creator of galaxies in lane with a tiny rodent man who uses mushrooms as a weapon? What powers would the painter of the stars wield against his foes, and how would that look for a player using them? And how could they make someone who was crazy enough to pick this character feel like they were actually controlling a cosmic deity, and at their fingertips they wielded all the power and might of the infinite cosmos to bring victory to them and their team? Everything from his default look with his accents of gold mimicking the shape of a crown, and his ethereal body composed not of solid matter but of pure starfire, to his in-game animations, hurling a galaxy that grows larger and larger as it travels with you, eventually growing large enough to take up the majority of a lane. Even his unique kit of abilities, always forcing the player to think about their positioning in space, and how they can manipulate the movements of their opponents to lead them unwittingly to a demise of cosmic proportions. You could even say that his skill ceiling is reflective of his concept and design. I'm not saying you have to be a god to play Aurelion Sol well, but yeah, he's hard to play. As someone who has been playing League of Legends for about 5 years now, seeing a character like Aurelion Sol is a really refreshing taste of ingenuity from the Riot dev team. For all the boring, unappealing, half-assed characters that they have making up their roster of champions, it's nice to know that, going forward, the creative minds behind this game will be working hard to come up with exciting and modern ideas for designs that get people excited about playing. Sure, most people who play League are here for the LP, and they'll just pick the character with the highest win ratio to help them climb the ladder this season. And that's fine. But for those of us who try a game because they want to see what it might feel like to travel through the winding rivers of the spirit realm while carrying your teammate to safety, or who want to get a taste of the pop star life while simultaneously being the coolest ninja that Naruto wishes he could have fought, I can say with confidence that League of Legends will provide. If you can look past the ugly and the outdated, the repetitive and the distasteful, there's really a lot in this game that an artist could be proud of. And that, to me, is the mark of a very successful series. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more character design related content. We upload new videos every Thursday and Sunday, so stay tuned. Thanks again, fam. I'll see you all in the next video.
Almost interesting. Almost.